Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Martial Universe Season 10 Part 50 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. A clear sound rang out across the land as a black light figure slowly appeared in front of First Elder Zhu Li, Little Martin, and the rest. He smiled as he looked towards the devil bead that contained terrifying energies, and reached out with his hand. Devouring power burst out and the devil bead immediately turned sluggish and was easily caught in his hand. Thump! The black light figure tightened his grip a little, and the devil bead that even First Elder Zhu Li and numerous powerful practitioners were unable to withstand, was easily shattered like brittle glass. After so many years, is this all you have? Although you Yimo are supposedly superior by nature, such superiority is merely so. The black light figure softly chuckled. His ordinary tone was filled with disdain and overbearingness. From his appearance, it seemed as though even these strange and extraordinary Yimo were below his notice. Lindong? At this moment, First Elder Zhu Li and rest also regained their wits. They gazed at the somewhat familiar figure before them and involuntarily cried out in astonishment. Only a short span of half a day had passed. How could Lindong's strength have reached such a frightening level? Although this body is Lindong's, the current him has still not reached this level. The figure turned his head. The face that originally belonged to Lindong currently wore a smile, a tyrannical smile that filled with disdain. You are the Devouring Master. First Elder Zhu Li and the rest were stunned, but they abruptly regained their wits as the shock in their eyes intensified even further. The legendary pinnacle expert had actually appeared before them today. I have temporarily borrowed Lindong's body to exterminate some of this scourge. The Devouring Master waved his hand. Without further ado, he turned around as his indifferent gaze locked onto the 5 figures in the sky above. Devouring Master, legends never truly die. You had clearly fallen, yet you still crawl back up from your grave to cause mischief. In the sky, the black figure originally seated on the black cloud throne also stood up as black fog gathered, transforming into a sinister face. His eyes were firmly glued to the figure below. Within them was an intense hatred and a slight trace of fear that had been deeply hidden to the extreme. You were the losers of the Great World War back then. I imagine that your days of sneaking around have not passed very pleasantly, right? The Devouring Master softly chuckled as he replied. Cold light flickered in the 10th Seat King's eyes. Moments later, he sinisterly laughed and replied, the only reason you were barely able to clinch victory back then was because Symbol Ancestor ignited his reincarnation to seal the tear between the planes, causing our Yimo race to be unable to muster our full forces. However, no matter how strong the seal is, there will eventually come a time when it will weaken. At that time, will there be a second Symbol Ancestor amongst you willing to sacrifice his life to save all of you? Faith will never be extinguished. There will naturally be a second Symbol Ancestor. The Devouring Master slowly lifted his hands. He was a little silent as he looked at these slender hands that did not belong to himself, before he replied. Is that so? The 10th Seat King sneered. Soon after, his eyes abruptly turned icy. However, I'm afraid that you won't have the chance to see that day. Hear my orders, 4 kings, kill this prey. Understood. Upon hearing this, the 4 Yimo kings responded in a stern manner. As they uniformly took a step forward, the previously somewhat disdainful expression on Zhu Li and the rest had already become incomparably grave and even nervous. The cause of their nervousness was the skinny figure below. The absolute god of death who had once beheaded numerous Yimo kings in ancient times. Devil nothingness finger. 2 fingers of the 4 Yimo kings jutted out as demonic energy that blotted the sky poured into their fingertips, causing their fingertips to darken and give off a feeling of deepness. As their fingers trembled, the surrounding space was forcibly torn apart. Swish! For black light beams that were as thick as an arm abruptly shot out from their fingertips. As the black light beams swept forth, one could see 4 giant scars being ripped open in the sky, while extremely terrifying destructive power rippled outwards. For normal Yimo kings that have not even passed any reincarnation tribulations dare to attack me? What a joke. The Devouring Master merely chuckled softly when he saw the 4 Yimo kings' ferocious attacks. His hands hung slightly at his side and he showed no signs of defending. He merely waited for the 4 black light beams to pierce through the void and arrive. Plop, plop, plop. When the 4 black light beams that gave off astonishing destructive energies were a dozen feet from the Devouring Master's body, black holes suddenly emerged from nothingness. As the black holes revolved, they gobbled up the 4 black light beams. The black holes quickly disappeared, and the 4 astonishing attacks were easily dealt with. This caused Zhu Li and the rest, who were behind, to be somewhat stupefied. Was this the power of the Devouring Master? In the sky, the expressions of the 4 Yimo kings also changed as great alarm flitted across their eyes. The Devouring Master faintly smiled. Soon after, he extended his hand and gently clenched it, black hole extermination. Unease rose within the 4 Yimo kings' hearts the moment his voice faded and their bodies rapidly retreated. However, the instant they moved, black light erupted around them. They watched in horror as 4 black holes appeared in a bizarre manner around each of them. Buzz. The 4 black holes were like a prison that trapped the 4 of them. In the next moment, the 4 black holes started to crazily rotate as devouring power that was frightening enough to rip apart space itself gushed out from all directions. Devouring power swarmed from all directions, and in the span of a single breath, their bodies were directly twisted and ripped to pieces by the berserk devouring power as miserable cries rang across the sky. These 4 Yimo kings were completely powerless in the Devouring Master's hands. Swish! As their bodies were torn to pieces, 4 flashes of black light suddenly shot out. However, just as they were about to escape the black holes, another enormous black hole appeared in the sky above. Devouring power surged out. It was akin to the giant mouth of a strange beast that intended to swallow the 4 Yimo kings' devil spirits. 10th Seat King, save us! At this moment, the 4 Yimo kings finally cried out in terror. They could sense that if they were sucked into the black hole, no matter how tenacious they would surely die. The Devouring Master was indeed not an existence they could match. Humph! The 10th Seat King coldly snorted upon seeing the crushing defeat of the 4 Yimo kings. Quickly after, his figure moved and directly appeared in front of 2 of the Yimo kings. Both his palms swatted forth, and an astonishing strength instantly pushed the 2 out of the range of the black hole in the sky. However, he had evidently used his true power as the 2 Yimo kings immediately released muffled groans. Since when does a defeated foe like you dare to save someone from my hands? The Devouring Master faintly smiled. Soon after, his hand abruptly clenched and devouring power maniacally gushed out from the black hole. Before the remaining 2 Yimo kings could be saved by the 10th Seat King, they were sucked into the black hole amidst their miserable shrieks. Bang bang! After the 2 were sucked into the black hole, extremely terrifying explosion sounds suddenly echoed from within it. Subsequently, the black hole slowly dispersed, and the 2 Yimo kings were completely annihilated. First Elder Zhu Li and the rest gasped saw this scene. There was unconcealable horror in their eyes. Destroying 2 Yimo kings in a single move, was this the power of the 8 ancient masters? Devouring Master! The 10th Seat King's expression was extremely grim. His gaze was glued to the Devouring Master as frightening devil chi emerged from within his body and covered the entire sky. It completely enveloped an area of 16,000 feet. Why? Finally unable to resist? The Devouring Master laughed. His figure appeared exceptionally tiny before the devil chi that covered the heavens. However, it was this tiny figure that caused the tightly clenched fists of the 10th Seat King to faintly tremble. That figure was as domineering as it had been in the far past. Even though he had already fallen, he was still a former absolute pinnacle expert of this world. Devil Spirit Body! The 10th Seat King's expression was malevolent as he howled in a deep voice. His voice was akin to thunder as it boomed across the land. The seemingly omnipresent devil chi started to gather, transforming into 100,000 feet large figure of darkness behind the 10th Seat King. The black figure stood on the land while its head touched the clouds. It gave off a dreadful aura. Still the same old methods, truly subpar. The Devouring Master merely smiled as he gazed upon the 10th Seat King's astonishing aura. There was unconcealed mockery in his smile. Soon after, his hands gently met each other as his eyes slowly closed. When the Devouring Master's eyes closed, the starry sky above suddenly turned completely pitch black. Darkness without end spread at an alarming speed, until the entire area was completely covered. Zhu Li and the rest's hearts trembled as they looked at the omnipresent darkness. At this moment, they could feel that this entire place had already become the devouring world. Anyone here would be unable to escape from this devouring power. Their gazes turned towards the figure in front of them. This figure was not imposing, but he was the true ruler of this devouring world. Devour the heavens. Darkness covered the land while the Devouring Master's dull and emotionless voice spread at this moment, before resounding across the entirety of this vast domain. Rumble. As the Devouring Master's voice faded, the entire land began to tremble intensely. The land crumbled as countless boulders shot out and flew into the devouring curtain of darkness. Meanwhile, the 100,000 feet devil figure behind the 10th seat king furiously roared. Torrential devil chi seemed to transform into pillars of light as it was forcibly sucked into the curtain of darkness. The devil figure's power was being devoured. The 100,000 feet figure began to disappear at an astonishing speed. In the short span of a dozen breaths, it had shrunk to the size of 1,000 feet. Meanwhile, the 10th seat king's complexion had turned exceptionally ashen. His body trembled uncontrollably, before he suddenly howled at the heavens. Frightening devil chi spouted forth as the now 1,000 feet devil figure started to swell once again at an astonishing speed. You are still not my match. This time, you shall be completely exterminated. The Devouring Master looked indifferently at the struggling 10th seat king as a frosty look suddenly flashed within his pitch-black eyes. After his voice sounded, one could only see a black line surface in between his brows. Subsequently, the black line gradually split open. An eye that looked like a black hole gave off a rather enigmatic aura as it slowly appeared. Intense fear finally appeared on the face of the 10th seat king when this black hole-like eye appeared. The mysterious eye was pitch black like a black hole. It split open between the brows of the Devouring Master. An endless black hole seemed to be rotating deep within it, while a mysterious and unfathomable feeling spread outwards. Eye of the ancestral symbol. The 10th seat king's expression drastically changed when he saw this scene and cried out sharply, "You no longer possess a physical body, yet you are still able to use the ancestral symbol eye." The Devouring Master gave a mysterious smile. However, he did not reply. His mysterious eye merely blinked lightly, and all the light in the area instantly turned into darkness. Even the Yuan power permeating this place wildly rushed towards the mysterious eye between his brows. Within a short several breaths, there was no longer any energy in the area, while the mysterious eye between the Devouring Master's brow grew increasingly abstruse and dangerous. Ancestral symbol eye, devour light. A soft voice was slowly emitted from the Devouring Master and the mysterious eye between his brows suddenly narrowed. In the next moment, a thumb-sized thick black light ray shot out. The black light ray swept forth, while everyone watched as space crumbled an inch at a time. It looked as if shattered glass was continuously falling. The speed of this light ray was indescribably fast. Even the 10th seat king only saw a flash of black light. Soon after, his body involuntarily shuddered. Countless Yimo kings had been killed by this death godlike light, and even he had once smelt death from it. He never imagined that this feeling would still cause him to shiver even after tens of thousands of years. The eyes of the 10th seat king suddenly widened at this moment as a ferocious expression flashed across his face. Monstrous demonic chi swept outwards as a roar resounded over the sky. Sky Devil Life Gate. Bang! Demonic chi seemingly covered the sky and land as it gathered over and quickly turned into 100,000 feet large darkness gate in front of him. The gate was covered with countless demonic patterns, while an extremely evil ripple pulsed from it. Swoosh! The inconspicuous black ray of light arrived at this moment. After which, it slammed directly into the darkness gate. No loud sound appeared when the two forces collided, and there was also an absence of any frightening energy ripples. Everyone simply looked at the quietly standing black gate in a dazed fashion. Their pupils abruptly shrunk a moment later. Numerous cracks stealthily spread on the gate. Finally, the huge gate shattered with a bang. Ah! A mournful cry sounded behind the gate the moment it was shattered as the monstrous demonic chi became chaotic. One could only watch as the body of the 10th Seat King exploded. 10th Seat King. The expressions of the remaining two Yimo kings changed drastically when they saw this. Intense horror was present in their eyes. No one understood the 10th Seat King's strength better than them. Yet, even he was no match for the Devouring Master. It seemed that only those top three lords could face the Devouring Master in a head-on clash. Wild joy surged into the eyes of First Elder Zhu Li's group when they saw this scene. The Devouring Master frowned slightly upon seeing the chaotic demonic chi in the sky. Soon after, he sighed softly. There was some regret present in his voice. Devouring Master. The chaotic demonic chi suddenly squirmed as a roar filled with resentful killing intent suddenly resounded across the place. After which, the demonic chi once again gathered and a demonic figure appeared. It was the 10th Seat King. However, his face was currently deathly pale. It was obvious that he had suffered an extremely serious injury. The Devouring Master had an indifferent expression as he stared at the 10th Seat King that had once again appeared. Black light once again flashed in the mysterious eye between his brows. Devouring Master, this will likely be the final time you appear. Just you wait. This world will definitely end up being controlled by us Yimo. At that time, all the creatures in this world will become our slaves. Ha ha! The 10th Seat King howled. He looked at the flickering light between the brows of the Devouring Master and finally let out a cold snort. With a wave of his sleeve, monstrous demonic fog spread, wrapping around the two Yimo kings as it cut open space and left. The Devouring Master watched the three fleeing individuals and the mysterious eye between his brows slowly disappeared. Lord Devouring Master, why did you let them leave? First Elder Zhu Li hesitated for a moment after seeing this. Finally, he could not help but inquire. The 10th Seat King clearly had a relatively high position amongst the Yimo. Letting him leave was equivalent to allowing a great threat to continue existing. I am after all a dead person. It isn't so easy to kill him. The Devouring Master shook his head and said regretfully. He was also aware that there was no telling just how many powerful individuals would end up dying because he had let the 10th Seat King off today. However, he did not have the strength to carry out what he wished to do. It was already not easy to force them back today. First Elder Zhu Li, Liu Qing, and the others sighed quietly. It was indeed a pity. This realm is about to shatter. All of you should leave. The Devouring Master said in a faint voice. Understood. Everyone hurriedly replied in a respectful manner after hearing these words. Lord Devouring Master, may I know where Grand Elder Ju Feng from my tribe is? First Elder Mu Di from the Nine Phoenix tribe hesitated for a moment before asking. The Devouring Master glanced at him. Soon after, he waved his sleeve and a flash of black light rushed out from within the Devouring Divine Palace and turned into a human figure. It was a pale-looking Ju Feng. Ju Feng saw Lin Dong's familiar figure when he appeared and immediately became furious as he roared, Mu Di, capture this little fellow. Humph! The Devouring Master let out a cold snort. Ju Feng's body violently jerked as great horror rose within his eyes. At this moment, he could feel a terrifying pressure envelope him. Grand Elder Ju Feng, this is the Devouring Master. Mu Di hurriedly said in a soft voice. His head was covered in cold sweat. Although Ju Feng had an extremely high status in the tribe, this person in front of them was a fierce individual who had destroyed two Yimo kings with a flip of his hand. Their Nine Phoenix tribe could not afford to offend him. Green and white interchanged on Ju Feng's face. A moment later, he finally laughed dryly and lowered his head. His palms were drenched in cold sweat. Lin Dong will be my successor in future. Do not blame me if you come to regret it after causing trouble for him again. The Devouring Master glanced at Ju Feng before speaking in a faint voice. Ju Feng's expression paled. No matter how arrogant he was, he would not dare to display it in front of the Devouring Master. All he could do was nod bitterly. With these words from the Devouring Master, he must weigh his options properly in the future. Moreover, Lin Dong, who would have obtained the inheritance of the Devouring Master by then, was likely not someone whom he could afford to offend. The Yimo continued to hide. Ultimately, there will be a great war in this world. Do you think that anyone can survive unscathed when the time comes? The Devouring Master sighed softly. His eyes looked towards Xu Li, Liu Qing, Mu Di, and Kuan Yuan. The four of you have already touched reincarnation. Being able to meet here is a form of fate. I shall give all of you something. Xu Li and the rest were initially startled upon hearing this. Great joy quickly surged in their eyes. The Devouring Master flicked his finger and 4 rays of light shot into their bodies. This is some of the comprehension I have towards reincarnation. Hopefully, all of you will be able to understand it and truly step into that level. Xu Li and the rest shut their eyes. Their faces were in a stupor as they fell into deep thought. It was a long time later before they excitedly and respectfully bowed towards the Devouring Master. The few of you should have some relation with Lin Dong. On the account of you having helped my successor, I shall also lend all of you a hand. The Devouring Master once again looked towards Little Martin, Little Flame, and the Heaven Dragon Demon Commanders group. With a wave of his hand, many mysterious rays of light shot out and entered their bodies. Faint black light lingered over the bodies of Little Martin's group. Soon after, the light disappeared and completely entered their bodies. Thank you very much, Lord Devouring Master. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commanders group shook from excitement. Little Martin and Little Flame were a little better. However, they still respectfully cupped their hands together towards the Devouring Master. Hopefully, the things that I have done will once again contribute some strength to the world war. However, Master will not be around this time. You will have to rely on yourselves in order to protect the lives of this world. The Devouring Master sighed softly. He did not say anything else. His body moved, turning into a black ray of light that shot into the Devouring Divine Palace. A huge black light circle slowly appeared after his body entered the palace and enveloped all the powerful individuals within it. The many strong individuals gazed upon the black light circle. There seemed to be a kind of mysterious and indescribable thing slowly entering their bodies from it. Although this mysterious thing could not be compared to what the Devouring Master had given Xu Li, Little Martin, and the others, it could be considered a primer of sorts. If these powerful individuals were lucky, it might be possible for them to progress further. This gift was more precious than any treasure to those strong individuals present. We respectfully send off the Great One. The strong individuals present were filled with great gratitude after obtaining such a big gift. They knelt with one knee on the ground as a united cry spread far and wide in the damaged space. We should also take our leave. First, Elder Xu Li looked at the circle of light that was gradually disappearing from around the Devouring Divine Palace and sighed softly. Lin Dong is really blessed to have such a fateful encounter. However, I believe that he would need quite a long time to obtain this inheritance. Little Martin nodded. All they could do now was to first return to the Four Titans Palace and wait. Let's go. Little Martin and the rest did not delay any longer. They took another deep look at the Devouring Divine Palace. After which, their bodies rose and they swiftly headed into the distance. Their gazes involuntarily turned around again to look at the Black Palace on the lone peak just before they left the damaged space. They had a feeling that when Lin Dong appeared again, his strength would definitely reach a rather astonishing level. When that time came, the day you come out will be the day we return to the Eastern Xian region. A cold expression flashed across Little Martin's eyes. Both of his hands suddenly clenched tightly. Old dogs of the Yuan Gate. Us 3 brothers are finally going to take revenge for what happened back then. In the Devouring Divine Palace, black light flickered before Lin Dong's figure appeared. After which, a black light shot out from within his body, allowing Lin Dong to once again regain control of his body. The first reaction Lin Dong had upon regaining control of his body was to stare in shock at the Devouring Master seated in front of him. Although the Devouring Master was the one controlling his body previously, Lin Dong was still able to see the entire fight with his own eyes. Moreover, he never expected the Devouring Master to be this terrifyingly powerful. After all, 2 Yimo kings, which were equivalent to reincarnation stage experts, were eliminated by him within less than 10 breaths' time. In fact, he was several times more capable than Elder Qing Shi. Was this the strength of the 8 ancient masters? Truly terrifying. Why? You seem to be startled. The devouring master looked at Lin Dong and smilingly said, "Compared to fellow reincarnation stage experts, why are you so much stronger?" Lin Dong hesitated for a moment before asking. Reincarnation stage experts are also ranked accordingly. However, most ordinary experts are unaware of this fact. The devouring master spoke in a faint voice. Those who had just stepped into the reincarnation stage are only considered as ordinary reincarnation stage experts. For example, the 2 Yimo kings whom I killed previously belong to that stage. Although reincarnation stage experts are extremely powerful, they are all fearful of one event. Reincarnation tribulation? Lin Dong softly asked. He knew a little about this subject. I? The devouring master nodded and said, within the reincarnation stage, there are a total of 3 reincarnation tribulations. Moreover, one's strength would be vastly different each time one passes through a tribulation. Of course, the reincarnation tribulations are extremely frightening and most reincarnation stage experts die attempting them. In fact, many reincarnation stage experts do not dare to attempt it even if they are qualified to do so. That is because there is a real possibility that they could end up perishing if they took that step. Lin Dong had a grave expression. Since it could strike such fear into the hearts of powerful reincarnation stage experts, this so-called reincarnation tribulation must be exceedingly frightening. To obtain strength, you will always have to take risks. This is a principle that has never changed since the ancient times. The devouring master smiled and said, "Since the ancient times, there were hardly any individuals who have successfully passed all 3 reincarnation tribulations. Elder should have passed all 3 reincarnation tribulations, am I right?" Lin Dong smilingly asked. "All 8 ancient masters have passed those 3 tribulations. However, the strongest one amongst us is Junior Martial Sister." The devouring master said. "Ice Master her. Junior Martial Sister is the last disciple that teacher accepted. However, she was the most talented as well. In fact, after she advanced to the reincarnation stage, within less than a year, she began to undergo the reincarnation tribulations. Moreover, even with the devouring master's temperament, a tinge of admiration flashed across his face when he mentioned this point. She passed all 3 tribulations simultaneously. Passed all 3 tribulations simultaneously? Lin Dong was startled before shock involuntarily surged into his eyes. The Ice Master had actually passed all 3 reincarnation tribulations simultaneously? That's right. The reincarnation tribulations are extremely terrifying and it is no mean feat to even pass one of them. Passing all 3 tribulations simultaneously is even more terrifying. Therefore, even I cannot match up to Junior Martial Sister's guts and abilities." The devouring master sighed softly. Lin Dong nodded. It's no wonder the Ice Master was so highly regarded by the symbol ancestor. Such talent and courage were truly rare. What cultivation level was the symbol ancestor at? Lin Dong asked out of curiosity. An expert who had successfully passed 3 reincarnation tribulations stood at the peak of this world. However, the symbol ancestor had clearly exceeded this level. After the reincarnation stage, is the ancestor stage. The devouring master was wearing a grave expression. In fact, when he mentioned the last 2 words, his eyes became exceptionally solemn. Ancestor stage? The devouring master nodded and replied, "Since the beginning of time, teacher is the only person who has ever reached that stage. I have tried to analyze how to reach that stage for many millenniums, but I am still at a loss." With this in mind, the devouring master smiled and continued, "Of course, if that one step was so easy to comprehend, where would those Yimo find the courage to attack us? Amongst the Yimo, it's likely that only their emperor, the Yimo emperor, can match up to teacher." Yimo emperor? Did a Yimo emperor appear during the ancient world war? Lin Dong pursed his lips before he asked. The devouring master nodded solemnly. He gently rubbed his hand over his chest before he said, "Back then, I was nearly killed by that Yimo Emperor. Fortunately, teacher showed up and saved me." Lin Dong was somewhat in a trance. After all, he simply could not imagine just how shocking it must have been when those two clashed. "Ancestor, what happened next?" Standing beside them, Kuan Ling, who had been secretly eavesdropping on their conversation, also involuntarily opened her mouth and softly asked. "After that." The Devouring Master sighed softly. Teacher ignited his reincarnation during that decisive battle with the Yimo Emperor, seriously wounding that Yimo Emperor, sealing him and expelling him through the crack between the planes. Finally, he completely sealed that crack and stopped the invasion of the Yimo tribe. Only then did we manage to scrap a victory. Lin Dong was quiet. Even though he had never experienced such a huge battle, he could still vaguely deduce how terrifying it must have been. Although they eventually emerged victorious in that war, they still had to pay an extremely hefty price. The Yimo tribes are exceptional since birth. Moreover, they come from another plane and are indeed much stronger than us. The Devouring Master slowly said. "Elder, there is no need to beat yourself down. Though those Yimo have their unique advantages, we are also no pushovers. Though they can give rise to a Yimo Emperor, we similarly have a symbol ancestor. Hence, we will not lose out to them," Lin Dong said seriously. The Devouring Master was startled before he quickly smiled. Following which, his arrogant and domineering aura once again surged out from his brows. "You are right indeed. In fact, I even dared to attack their Yimo Emperor back then. Hence, why should we fear them? However, it isn't going to be so easy to reach teacher's cultivation level. I do not believe that they can easily give birth to a Yimo Emperor as well." Lin Dong laughed. The Devouring Master smiled and nodded. That Yimo Emperor from back then was seriously injured and sealed by teacher. Hence, he might have already died. Strictly speaking, we do not need to be afraid of those Yimo. Though there are Yimo hiding in this world and waiting for the opportunity to strike, Junior Martial Sister and the rest have undergone reincarnation. Hence, after they awaken, those Yimo would not dare to do anything. A complicated expression flashed across Lin Dong's eyes after he heard those words. If the Ice Master was to awaken, would that mean that Ying Huan's consciousness would be replaced? Was that lively young lady with a long black ponytail, who brought warmth to his heart when she played the zither, going to disappear? Lin Dong involuntarily clenched his fist tightly when he thought of this. Meanwhile, his heart was gently aching. The Devouring Master glanced at Lin Dong, who had suddenly become silent. Immediately, he seemed to have come to a comprehension as he sighed softly. There is no need to be overly concerned. Typically speaking, those who had undergone reincarnation would be controlled by their present self. Lin Dong smiled bitterly. He could naturally tell that the Devouring Master was trying to comfort him. However, when it came to the Ice Master, what was considered as typical? In fact, even the Devouring Master willingly admitted that she was stronger than him. Therefore, after she had undergone reincarnation, it would be difficult to say just who would be in control of the body. It is pointless to think about it for now. You should focus on what you can do. The Devouring Master spoke quizzically. Only after you possess true strength will you be able to change the world. This junior understands. Lin Dong replied in a deep voice. Indeed, it was pointless for him to worry about it now. Instead, it was better for him to boost his strength. After all, he had never admitted defeat before. Therefore, even though his opponent this time around was the Ice Master, the strongest of the 8 ancient masters, and someone whom even the Devouring Master admitted he was inferior to, he did not feel the slightest bit of fear. Regardless of how slim his chances were, he would definitely not give up. He must snatch Ying Huan over from her hands. Lin Dong clenched both of his fists tightly while a determined glint flashed across his dark black eyes. My time is almost up. The Devouring Master smiled gently and nodded. He surveyed his surroundings with nostalgia, before his eyes paused on Lin Dong and Kuan Ling. I will leave my inheritance to the both of you. However, the both of you must be cautious. Receiving my inheritance involves great dangers. I am giving the both of you all my thoughts on reincarnation. Since Kuan Ling possessed my bloodline, it might be possible for her to remain conscious. However, it will be extremely easy for Lin Dong to get lost within. Moreover, once you are lost, you will never be able to find your way back. The Devouring Master wore an extremely grave expression as he spoke. Beside him, Lin Dong nodded solemnly. He was hardly surprised by the dangers involved. After all, one always had to pay a price in order to obtain strength. This was the natural order of the world. Therefore, Linger, you must do your best to protect Lin Dong and ensure that he remains conscious during the inheritance. Both of you will be closely connected during the inheritance. Remember that the stem is connected to the vine, and the vine to the fruit. Hence, the other party will be affected if something untoward happens to either one of you. Ancestor, what are you saying? Lin Dong hardly reacted, but beside him, Kuan Ling's pretty face reddened. Following which, she snorted in embarrassment. Only then, did Lin Dong finally understand why using such a metaphor was a little too cheeky. It seems like the Devouring Master was indeed a womanizer in the past. It's no wonder he had such a murky relationship with the nine-tailed fox. Ha ha. The Devouring Master laughed. After which, he changed the topic. The both of you should get ready. I am about to begin. Whether the both of you succeed or fail will depend entirely on the both of you. The Lin Dong duo nodded before their expressions gradually turned grave. Following which, the both of them sat down and began to calm their minds. The Devouring Master spread his hands upon seeing this. As he once again immersed himself in this world, a dense look of nostalgia appeared on his face. A long while later, his body began to contort. After which, black light seeped forth before his body actually transformed into a huge black hole. That black hole rotated slowly. After which, it expanded before devouring Lin Dong and Kuan Ling's body, just like a huge dark mouth. Everything else will depend on the both of you. Hopefully, my inheritance will not disappear from this world. As the black hole rotated, only the voice of the Devouring Master quietly resounded. Finally, it vanished completely. This peak-level expert, which once towered over the world, had finally vanished. Lin Dong's slightly shut eyes slowly opened after the darkness receded from them. He was immediately a little dazed. The magnificent brilliance reflected from his front caused a bright arc of light to appear on his face. This is... Lin Dong muttered to himself as he surveyed his surroundings. An endless brilliant ocean entered his eyes. The multicolored sea water gleamed due to the reflection of light. It was so beautiful that it left one mesmerized. This is the Reincarnation Ocean. A faint but clear voice was transmitted from the side. Lin Dong turned his head to find Kuan Ling quietly seated a dozen feet away. Her posture was like a willow, and her clothes outlined her slim figure, causing her to appear unusually alluring. Reincarnation Ocean? Lin Dong lifted his brow. Some confusion was present in his eyes. After one advances to the reincarnation stage, one's Dantian will turn into a reincarnation ocean. It is vast, unfathomable, and contains all of one's cultivation. This is Ancestor's Reincarnation Ocean. Kuan Ling's pretty eyes watched the brilliant ocean as she spoke. Of course, the most precious thing here is Ancestor's understanding of reincarnation. That is the most critical thing to advance into the reincarnation stage. Lin Dong lifted his eyes and looked over as he focused. He could feel that this sea was filled with an extremely mysterious aura. That fluctuation was as mesmerizing as the deep starry sky. It was the most mysterious feeling of reincarnation. Lin Dong blankly stared at the beautiful ocean as a searing heat rose within those black eyes. Lin Dong! An anxious cry suddenly sounded like thunder exploding beside his ear just as this heat flashed across his eyes and he abruptly recovered. There was a stupefied expression in his eyes as he looked at the anxious expression on Kuan Ling's pretty face. Look under your feet, Kuan Ling hurriedly said when she saw Lin Dong recover. Only then did Lin Dong tilt his head and his pupils abruptly shrunk as cold sweat surfaced on his body. He had actually unknowingly arrived at the edge of the stone platform floating on the Reincarnation Ocean. If he took another step, he would fall into the ocean. This is the will of reincarnation. It has an extremely strong temptation towards those who have not stepped into the reincarnation stage like yourself. If there is any opening in your heart, you will sink inside, never to escape. Kuan Ling said in a solemn manner. Lin Dong hurriedly took 2 steps back. He arrived beside Kuan Ling before coming to a stop. He wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead and looked at Kuan Ling with great gratitude. Thank you. He was aware that if it was not because Kuan Ling had alerted him at such a critical moment, it was likely that he would have really fallen into the reincarnation ocean. Only now did he completely understand why the Devouring Master had insisted that Kuan Ling followed him. Your performance is already so lackluster before you even make contact with the true will of reincarnation. From what I can see, you will likely have a great difficulty obtaining this inheritance. Kuan Ling said in a faint voice. I was indeed careless this time. Lin Dong's face reddened. He did not expect that the will of reincarnation was so powerful. He had almost lost his way after merely trying to feel. Kuan Ling sighed softly and said, Prepare yourself. We are about to begin. Lin Dong nodded. After which, he sat down in front of Kuan Ling. The latter hesitated upon seeing this, before her delicate jade-like hand extended. With a red face, she said, You should grab onto my hand. Only through this will I be able to feel if you have fallen into trouble. Many thanks. Lin Dong nodded sincerely. He extended his large hand and grabbed that soft, delicate and small hand. It felt as though he was holding a warm jade. This feeling was the best. However, Lin Dong was not in the mood to care about such things at this moment. He deeply inhaled a breath of air and slowly shut his eyes. Let's begin. The both of them shut their eyes together. Soon after, mental energy slowly spread. Initially, the mental energy of the two existed independently. However, they discovered that it was impossible for their mental energy to spread out of the storm platform in this way. After a long period of hesitation, the two mental energies gradually mixed together. Kuan Ling's cold and pretty face suddenly flushed after their mental energy entwined together. The mental energy of the two gathered and finally broke free of the restraints of the stone platform and drifted outwards. As this happened, it was possible to see a faint but brilliant fog rise from the reincarnation ocean. Light rippled within the fog. There were an endless number of figures flashing within it. It was as if there was a world within the fog itself. A kind of mysterious ripple slowly spread. Lin Dong's mental energy involuntarily approached the reincarnation wall that lingered over the reincarnation ocean. After which, he gradually relaxed as his mental energy truly connected with the reincarnation will. Lin Dong's mental energy shook violently upon contact. An endless number of images seemed to flash before his eyes. A figure appeared in front of Lin Dong as the images flashed past. He could see that it was a middle-aged man. His body was somewhat frail and his forehead looked somewhat similar to Lin Dong's, while his face appeared a little stern. Beside him was a graceful and pretty middle-aged woman. She currently wore a gentle and doting expression as she looked at Lin Dong. Father, mother. Lin Dong blankly looked at the two people in front of him. A great sorrow suddenly attacked his heart, causing his eyes to become a little red. He had been away from home for so many years and experienced many hardships. Wasn't all of this for the sake of becoming stronger to protect those whom he wished to protect? Donga, it is time to come home. The pretty woman gently beckoned at Lin Dong. That gentle and familiar voice caused Lin Dong to tremble despite his current mental fortitude. He was already tired after clenching his teeth and persevering for so many years. He really wanted to return to that little Qingyang town. Although that place was inconspicuous, it gave endless peace to his heart. In his days, Lin Dong reached out, wanting to grab the pretty woman's hand. On the stone platform, Kuan Ling's tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. She anxiously looked at Lin Dong, who had his eyes shut. A rare gentleness had appeared on his face. This fellow had been as tough as a rock since the moment they met, and even dared to have killing intent towards someone like Ju Feng, who had stepped into the reincarnation stage. Yet, his expression was just like a child at this moment. Ah, you fool. How can we complete the inheritance if you do this? Kuan Ling sighed softly. She possessed the protection of the Devouring Master's bloodline and would not get lost in this reincarnation whirl. However, the reincarnation whirl would stir the greatest desire deep within one's heart for anyone else. At that time, even the strongest person would become unbelievably weak. Kuan Ling's hand gently gripped Lin Dong's hand. However, the latter did not react, causing her to involuntarily bunch her brows together. After hesitating for a moment, she finally clenched her teeth. They bit into her red lips and fresh blood seeped out from the corner of her mouth. It appeared like a gorgeous blood-red rose. Kuan Ling leaned her lovely body forward as the blood seeped out and her jade-like arms gently wrapped around Lin Dong's throat. After which, her somewhat ice-cold lips reached out and pressed onto Lin Dong's lips. Fresh blood moved along her lips and entered Lin Dong's mouth. Finally, it began to spread. A faint black ripple was emitted from within Kuan Ling's body at this moment. After which, it enveloped Lin Dong. The black ripple became increasingly dense. In the end, it turned into a black cocoon that wrapped around the both of them. A ripple was emitted from Lin Dong's palm just as his hand touched the hand of the pretty woman. All he saw was the two figures suddenly distort. After which, they gradually became illusionary. Even though her body had disappeared, the pretty woman's eyes were still filled with a doting and gentle expression as they looked at Lin Dong. The stern man by the side also nodded. His face contained an expression of praise. "Father, mother," Lin Dong mumbled to himself. The tip of his nose felt sour. "If your performance continues to be so terrible, I will not be able to save you." A faint voice suddenly echoed within Lin Dong's heart. It was Kuan Ling. Lin Dong slightly nodded. Soon after, he took a deep breath and a smile surfaced on his face. His previous determination had emerged again. "Father, mother, both of you can be at ease. I am fine. Wait for me. I will soon be back." Lin Dong clenched his hand tightly. The originally lost expression in his eyes had once again returned to the determination of the past. He quickly sat down. In order to truly return, he must take control of the power here. "Miss Linger, thank you. This will be the last time." Lin Dong's voice spread within his heart. Soon after, he slowly spread his hands. Mental energy extended without holding back. Finally, it collided heavily against the mysterious reincarnation whirl. Swoosh swoosh. Countless light figures continued to flash past in Lin Dong's mind as if he was cycling through memories. However, he no longer got lost in them. Those glittering eyes were as calm as a rock. It was as though some outsider was quietly watching a flower bloom and wither, or the clouds gather and disperse. Reincarnation rotated like a wheel. It endlessly cycled again and again. The endless river of time quietly flowed. The light cocoon enveloping the two people on the stone platform had unknowingly disappeared. The two figures were quietly seated. At some unknown time, they seemed to have been covered by a layer of thick dust which faintly glittered. The bright reincarnation ocean rippled. Many radiant lights containing the will of reincarnation rose from the ocean and stealthily slipped into their bodies. This rock-like stillness and bitter training continued for an unknown amount of time. Perhaps it was a year, perhaps it was 10. However, there would ultimately be an end regardless of how long it took. Without realizing it, the skinny figure on the stone platform gently shivered. After which, his tightly shut eyes slowly opened. It was the same pair of pitch-black eyes. However, there was now an indescribable feeling within the pitch blackness. It was as though there was an extremely faint reincarnation ripple spread from them. This episode ends here.